And good Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of New York Giants Football Talk. Unlike that great song by the Bangles, just another manic Monday. This is a great Monday for me and fellow Giants fans alike. And speaking of our fellow Giant fans, my friend, my compadre, my fellow Giants fan, Mr. Paul Rosen, as always, with me, and a pleasure. How are you doing this evening, Paul?
You see the big smile on my face finally, so I'm doing very well. Obviously, a very, very good Monday for New York Giants fans all around the country and world, hopefully. But we finally have something to smile about after a very, very good win yesterday against the Cleveland Browns. So we'll get into the details, but certainly it was something to have a good Sunday afternoon into Monday about.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. I want to give a few seconds for YouTube to connect and a couple other stream details. So let me just go over some of the shows we got this week. Full slate of shows. Uh, Tuesday, tomorrow night, Jen and Kurt and Jen Valenti will be doing All In on High School Sports. 2 hours of high school sports talk in the North Jersey area, covering all sports, and they do a phenomenal job. Wednesdays, I'll be back. I'll be on with Carson and Joey Clams at 7 o'clock Eastern time for a little half-hour wits and wagers, followed by our main show, K&K Sports Show. Lots to talk about: baseball, wild card races, Paul and Carson. Everybody's getting excited, and of course, football and college football and everything else along the way. And then Friday, little recap, and then Saturday, little clams and claws updated betting information. And there's our good friend and fellow Giant fan, Eddie Murphy, the first
Hey
on the
Eddie,
board to say hello this evening. What's going on,
Edward,
Eddie? Great to see
go
you.
Irish, go Giants.
Been a great Saturday, great Sunday for us all. But why don't we get into the game a little bit, Paul? People are starting to come in a
Okay.
little bit. Why don't we
hmm
get into the game? Give us your overall thoughts. Going in, we didn't have. I had them winning. I'm going to say that. I had the Giants winning. I had a feeling they would show up, but I didn't feel they would show up in this fashion. So I'm going to let you
Yep.
take it away with a little recap of the game to start things off.
All right. Well, opening kickoff, immediately fumble recovered by the Browns. First play of the game, Sean Watson to Mari Cooper. 11 seconds in, we're losing 7-0, and we're saying, "Oh no, here we go again." But to the Giants' credit, they regrouped and came out in the first half. Wound up scoring 3 touchdowns. We'll get into the details to take a 21-7 lead going into halftime. Came out in the second half, and they bent, but they didn't break. Couple of mishaps in the second half. Had an opportunity to close it out. They didn't. Had a second opportunity. They finally closed it out. And the defense played very, very well. We'll get into the details of both offense and defense. But overall, first win of the year. Great win on the road against Cleveland made the playoffs last year. They were very good defense. So always tough to win in the NFL. To win on the road in the NFL is even tougher. And when you play a team that went to the playoffs last year and were excellent at home, hey, nothing to be ashamed about. So we're very glad that the Giants came away with a 21-15 win yesterday in Cleveland.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. I know Deshaun Watson's not playing well, but like Eddie's saying, Burns finally showed up, still waiting for KT. It's going to happen. Now, remember what I said, Eddie, and Paul will know I said this plenty of times. It's what I disagree with Brian Dable has done the last 2 years and not playing his starters in preseason. You got to play them a little bit in the preseason, get them reps. Now they're starting to get a little more into regular season form. So give them another week or two, Eddie. I think you're going to start seeing this defense maybe gel and be maybe a top 15 defense going forward. I said top 10 earlier, but I'll take top 15. Couple more hellos. Our good friend, the PA Scratcher guy, usually on Kick.
APA.
Kick PA. I'm running into little issues there. I may talk to you about that. But he'd like to take a moment to thank the New York Football Giants for winning yesterday. PA Scratcher guy is a big Steelers fan. Congratulations to your Steelers, Hawks.
Yeah, 3-0. Congratulations.
Our good friend Michael Ronquillo, Bronco fan. Congratulations to your Broncos, Michael. He's saying hello, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
White heart emojis, but I'll throw an orange one in there for you, Michael. Little heart, orange heart there for you, my friend. Congrats on the Broncos win. Eddie's saying when Chapman had that sack, he shot in like a cannon, thought was Dex for a minute. That was really fast. I'll tell you. I don't know where teams slept on him. PA saying thank you, and Eddie saying he likes how Bowman made adjustments. Wink made in-game adjustments. Hey, I got to give defensive coordinator credit. They showed up yesterday, and I was down on this defense for a while, and still don't like playing man coverage at the goal line with a number one wide receiver. But we'll get into that in a little bit with heroes and zeros. But don't like that call there. But all in all, I'll give the defensive coordinator probably about a solid B minus on the defense there, because we did give up a little bit at the end.
I'll say something. It's easy to read when you hear stuff from the Giant players and the coaches, but when you hear it from the opposing quarterback, and what Deshaun Watson said after the game was they prepared, and what the Giants did was totally what Cleveland did not expect, meaning what Bowen did was apparently blitz 55% of the time, and we know that his game is essentially rushing the front four to try and get to the quarterback, and they changed it up completely against Watson, and obviously they had 8 sacks, and I think 9 players shared 8 sacks, but 55% of the time they blitz, which they never do. He never does. So any of the tendencies that Cleveland watched on film went out the window, and Cleveland and the offensive line of the Browns was not ready for what the Giants and Bowen did. So yeah, kudos to Shane Bowen for mixing it up and doing something that Cleveland certainly didn't make adjustments for and didn't expect.
Absolutely. And why don't we do this, Paul? Why don't we do our heroes and zeros of the game? And I'm in such a good mood. PA Scratcher guy's out there. He's a Steeler fan. I'm sure he didn't watch much of the Giants game. Michael's a Bronco fan. Give us your heroes and zeros of your teams, and I'll mention them on here in the put them out in the chat, and I'll mention them on here too. I'm in a great mood today. Paul, you want to go first on the offensive side for your hero, and then I'll go first on defensive side.
I'm gonna name 2. Last week we called Malik Nabers a stud, and this is gonna sound like it's gonna be redundant, but this week I'm calling him the Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and All-Pro. This kid in 3 games has set records that are unbelievable. I don't think any of Giant fans and anybody in NFL expected this kid to be as good as he has been, and he has come out as if he's the second coming of Jerry Rice. And I don't want to get too far into that, but what a first 3 games this kid has performed. And what I liked about him, he was so down on himself dropping that last pass at the end of the Washington game, and he was so down and he was despondent, and he was on the bench, and the players were coming and consoling him, and he kept saying, "I don't want to let the veterans down." And apparently Dexter Lawrence had a conversation with him and said, "Look, you're not letting us down, okay? There's going to be and this is the NFL, this is professional football. There's going to be some highs and there's going to be some lows, there's going to be some hits and there's going to be some misses. So what did this kid do? He put it behind him and he came out yesterday and had 8 receptions, almost 80 yards, 2 big touchdowns, 2 tremendous catches that helped Daniel Jones yesterday. I mean, the kid every game he does something amazing, and we haven't seen something like this probably since the likes of OBJ, at least as a giant receiver. So what this kid is doing, I think he has 23 receptions in the first 3 games, which ties Anquan Boldin, the old receiver from the Cardinals, for the most receptions, second most receptions by a rookie wide receiver in the first 3 games of his career. And I think he leads in touchdowns, not just rookies, but in the NFL, receivers and 3 touchdowns. In yardage, I think he's second or third. I mean, the kid is unbelievable. So obviously, he's my first hero. My second hero, Devin Singletary. And you might say, "Oh, well, he fumbled the ball." Yeah, he did, and that's the second fumble. And listen, he can't play loose with the ball. He just can't lose the ball every week. But after making some good plays throughout the game, and to me, the game deciding play, he breaks free. He's in the clear. He's ready to score. And what does he do? He makes a tremendous heads up play and he goes down at the 1 yard line to essentially ice the game. He didn't need to score. The Giants, with 3 time, excuse me, the Browns had used up all their time. There were no timeouts left. All the Giants had to do is take a knee for 3 times and run the clock out. And that was the best thing. There was no reason to score and give the ball back to the Browns and have some craziness happen. So he's my second hero. And just to add, so many people I've read on social media and all this today, oh, he should have scored and all this. No, if you think he should have scored, then you don't understand football. You don't score there. You keep the ball. You have the lead. The bottom line is you take a knee 3 times, and that's it. Game over. So those are my 2 heroes on offense.
Eddie Murphy, I heard yesterday the defense thanked Singletary for having a high IQ on that run when he went down at the 1. And coaching football, Paul, I want to educate some Giant fans because we have very high intelligent people in our chat, so this doesn't go for our chat. But there's some Facebook groups out there and people posting that Singletary should have scored. The morale is going to be down. Learn the game of football. Sure, the odds are against you that you're going to give up 2 touchdowns in that period of time, but you have odds of losing a star guy. What if Deonte Banks tears an ACL because we scored an unnecessary touchdown? Dexter Lawrence goes down. What happens then? Crazier things have happened in the NFL. The Cowboys almost came back yesterday and beat the Ravens. They fell just short, but crazy things have happened. They got an onside kick yesterday. So you don't give any team any time on the clock to do that. And high IQ. So Giant fans who think otherwise, go and see what, like Eddie said, the defense thanking Singletary and Dable praising Singletary in the locker room, and tell me the morale isn't high on the Giants. And you don't know the definition of morale.
If I can just add one more thing about that play. It's a total unselfish, total team-oriented play because he's thinking of the team as opposed to an individual goal of scoring a touchdown on that play. So, like you just said, the morale of the team understands that a guy like that could easily score, but understands the full weight of dropping down to the 1 yard at the 1 yard line instead of scoring a touchdown.
Michael, thank you for Eddie's saying high and tight like Coughlin taught Tiki. Michael's answering
Exactly.
Broncos hero was running back Tyler Beatty, and on defense was safety Brandon Jones. Kurt's saying hello. What's up,
Hey,
boys?
Kurt.
Nice win for you guys. And how about them Broncos, baby? In my opinion,
Congratulations.
congratulations, Kurt. Hero and zero for the Broncos, Kurt. You can answer it. I'm in a great mood this week, so taking everybody's answers. So you can answer as a Bronco fan who your hero and zero was. He's also saying, in his opinion, a must-win for Daboll's job is he must beat the Cowboys this year.
Yeah, don't disagree.
That's a good point there, Kurt.
Don't
Eddie Murphy's
disagree.
saying it's good to see screens working with blockers in front. When was the last time we had that?
Yep.
And I'm going to go. I wrote a few down, Paul, because I figured Nabers and Singletary would be at the top of the list on offense. But I'm going to go Andrew Thomas. I know he, had a holding penalty here and there, but up against Myles Garrett, kept Myles Garrett off the board, and basically we didn't hear his name mentioned much at all. Another hero I'm going to go is Daniel Jones. He had a pretty damn good first half. Malik Nabers helped him out on a couple throws, but you know what? In Neighbors we trust. Won't you be my neighbor is what Daniel Jones is, Mr. Rogers over there throwing the ball up for his neighbor, and neighbor coming down with it each time. So you got your number one wide receiver, Daniel, and he's doing it what he's supposed to do. Throw it up, make your guy make the play. So Daniel Jones didn't turn the ball over yesterday. I'm going to consider him a hero in my book, along with, of course, Malik Nabers and Devin Singletary and Andrew Thomas. So
nice.
Those are the four I think we can go there on heroes. I'm going to start on defense, Paul.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
And I'm going to give you one guy on defense. I could have went a couple ways. I'm going to go a guy that I've been really hard on. And I said, I don't want this guy on the Giants. He's terrible. Cordell Flott had 7 tackles yesterday. And I know I'm going to let you take over with the guy I really want to go with, but I'm going to go with somebody. Jerry Jeudy, I think he had 1 catch the whole game. And that was the number 2 wide receiver. So a guy that I've been down on, Cordell Flott. LSU had themselves a game yesterday because LSU is where Cordell Flott went to,
right.
as well as our guy Neighbors. So I'll go Cordell Flott as my hero. Surprise.
Okay. Hero. All right. That's nice. I'm glad. It's funny. I was thinking about who would I pick out, and the defense played so well as a whole. Let me just throw these statistics at you. We mentioned they had 8 sacks. They had 8 sacks. I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. He's going to feel bad today when he woke up. They hit him 17 times. They pressured him, get this, 36 times, 2 fumble recoveries. And the whole defense played so well. Even a guy that I'm trying to have a 0, but we'll get into that. But a couple of people I saw, Tay Banks had a bad game. You know what? He was on Cooper, the first touchdown. I mean, he was like a second skin. There were a couple of other plays that he was right on top of him, and the pass was just a perfect pass by Watson. One of the few times they didn't pressure him, and he did complete it to Cooper. But I think the defense as a whole played so well and cohesively. And like I said, Bowen has to get almost a hero nod because of what he came up with in terms of the game plan. And I'm gonna do a separate shout out for your guy, Elijah Chapman, who you called out right in preseason. And yeah, he does look like a little bulldog coming out, and I think this kid, the more he's playing, I think he has an opportunity to really do something with the Giants. So overall, I just thought they played extremely, extremely well. and the rushing also, after giving up 215 yards last week against Washington, held the Browns to 69 yards rushing. So both both pass rush and rushing and holding Cleveland rushing down. Overall, they played extremely well.
Yeah, let me catch up on some comments. Well said, Paul. There's a bunch coming in. A couple more hellos. We got Graham saying hello, and
Hey,
David
Graham,
saying hello, and also Jody saying hello.
Jody, David. Hey,
You guys are big Bronco fans. We're doing zeros, heroes on the defense. Who was your big hero on defensive side of ball and your big win there? And congratulations to you guys as well. David saying congrats on our
yeah.
G-Men. Kurt's saying, by the way, keep paying these average quarterbacks big money. Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Sean Watson, he even threw Daniel Jones in there. But is he making big money, Kurt? 40 million is not a lot of money these days.
And he's
Tua,
had two good
Russ,
games in a row.
teams just don't get it. It destroys franchises. So stupid. I agree with some of them, Kurt. I don't, I think Russ and Daniel Jones right now, 40 million is not much money in today's NFL. And, but the other ones, I agree with you. Jody wants to know, how bad is Deshaun Watson? I'll say he's bad, but our defense was exceptionally good on Sunday as well, Jody. So it was a combination of both, which made him. But he is not that good, I agree. He is definitely overrated and not the quarterback of the Texans that he was a few months ago. I just want to give a shout out to Dave, Colorado Sports Connection, as well. And Graham's saying the Browns are a joke. Eddie saying Pinnock had a good game. Besides that goal line play, Banks was on him like glue. Cooper just made better catches. Amari Cooper is probably one of the top 3 underrated wide receivers in football. When you think of number 1 wide receivers, you think Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, etc. You don't think Amari Cooper, but this guy makes plays, and he is a true number 1 wide receiver and underrated in my book.
Yeah. Can I just throw in one other underrated hero from yesterday's game?
Yeah.
On defense, a guy that we've thought was dead and buried, and all of a sudden he I guess opened the casket and came out. Azeez Ojulari had a very good game, had a sack, a few quarterback hits, recovered a fumble. And if they could add him, we talked about him a week or two ago in terms of the Giants utilizing him and Burns and KT in sort of a NASCAR package. Well, listen, if he gets a little playing time and stays healthy, he can contribute on the defense probably better than if he was a starter. So, you know what? Keep him going. He played well yesterday, and hopefully we can continue that through the rest of the season.
Eddie saying dumbest move Cowboys ever did was trading Amari Cooper. I'm going to switch over to the zero side of the ball on offense, and there's not many in my book, but I'm going to go with one guy who's fell. I could go 2 routes here, but I'm going to go with a guy that you mentioned last week who didn't get any playing time. He had 1 catch in this game, but he also had a penalty that hurt. That's Daniel Bellinger. I mean, I know there's not many zeros in this game, but you got to go with somebody. I'm going to say Daniel Bellinger. Theo Johnson seems to be getting more and more involved in the offense each week. Daniel Jones, they were off by an inch on that awesome play call in the end zone, and that'll get fixed because Theo Johnson, that they'll work on that in practice this week, and they'll get their timing down. But I'm going to say Daniel Bellinger because he's fallen, I think, out of that starting role, and Theo Johnson's moving up, Paul. I'll go that way.
Okay. Like you said, there's not many zeros from yesterday's game. I mean, the only one that I could even possibly think of, since you did an offense, I'll go defense again. And this is a big stretch. Again, is Tay Banks. I don't think you can fault him that first that first touchdown, he was right on Cooper. It was just a perfect pass by Watson, and some of the other passes that were completed in his area, they just were good passes that he was literally right there and could have made the play. So I can't fault him too much yesterday.
Got our good friend Roy Osborne stopping in to say hi, and that includes Kurt. He's throwing a hi out to uh,
Hey,
Kurt
Roy.
saying, about Aaron Rodgers looking good. Absolutely. Michael's 0 for the Broncos was Javonte Williams. Eddie Murphy, JMS was calling out the mic. Doesn't quarterback usually do that? Wants to know.
I think he was calling a lot of the offensive line, um, probably blocking schemes. So probably if he's identifying who the mic was, maybe there were some instances where the offensive line schemes were changing, and that's what usually the center is doing.
Kurt throwing a little jab in there. He's saying, Kenny, 40 million for Daniel Jones. I'm
Oh
smoking
my
Six's
goodness,
Maryland Chew.
Kurt,
Enjoy your win, Kurt.
right.
Let's
I
enjoy
mean,
this. We both won. We
I
both
know.
won.
Why do that? First of all, he's had 2 good games in a row, number 1. Number 2, if you want to talk about the worst contract, that's a guaranteed contract. Talk about Deshaun Watson's contract, because that is the worst, without a doubt. That's the worst contract in NFL for
That
any
is bad,
quarterback and any team. No question about it.
Paul's got you there, Kurt. That is bad. We'll discuss the worst contracts in football Wednesday. Maybe we'll have a little fun segment with Kurt on that. We'll throw some names out there. But here's a good one from Kurt. I think the Giants' whole season is on the line Thursday night. Why not win? ? You're at home. Cowboys are in major trouble. Dable finally beats Dallas. Whole season turns around. National TV. But if you lose at home, season is over. 1-3. We're close to a season being over, Kurt. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Why not win? If you look at the Cowboys, Kurt, and I know you've seen it, Paul, this is what happens. I'm going to do my best, Kurt Valenti. This is what you get when you pay an average quarterback $60 million. Micah Parsons is arguing with the defense. CeeDee Lamb's arguing with the offense. Their $60 million guy is like, hey, I got the money coming to me, win or lose, who cares? And there's your owner passing out envelopes to the refs at halftime to try and get the payoff. So, the Cowboys are in trouble, Kurt. I'm going to say that 100%. I don't know your thoughts, Paul. Do you think our season is on the line? 1-3. Are we season over?
Let me put it this way. If there was ever going to be a game that the Giants were going to beat the Cowboys, it's Thursday night. I did some research before the show. The last 10 years, the Giants' record against the Cowboys, 4-16. Cowboys are 16-4. The last 7 years, the Giants have won 1 game and lost 13 games. So 14 games in the last 7 years, they're 1-13. I wrote down on my notes, why can't Thursday they beat the Cowboys? With everything that the Cowboys are experiencing the last 2 weeks, their run defense is horrible, and they're just being run over. Clearly, their defense is not gelling under Mike Zimmer. And maybe after watching what the Giant defense did to the Cleveland, the Browns, maybe what the Cowboys did against the Browns in the opening game, maybe that wasn't such a great defense. So this has the makings. If they can play well, I don't want to sound cliche-ish and say, no turnovers and all of that. But if they can come out aggressive against this team, why can't they beat them at home, national audience? Hey, most of those players that were there opening day last year, they have to remember 40-0 in a total debacle. The coaches obviously Brian Dable must remember that. So, yeah, uh, this could set up for a very, very opportunistic time to beat the Cowgirls.
Let me catch up on the comments. A lot of chat going on, some side chat going on. And Paul, I'm going to read comments, but let's hold this to Wednesday, Kurt, because I'd like to do a debate on Wednesday of some of the worst contracts in football for this year. Graham saying 40 million is nothing. 150 million is much worse. Paul, Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the NFL. Come on, he will not be the quarterback next year. Let's
That's
hold
Kurt.
that to Wednesday.
That's Kurt.
Yep, Dak is worth 20. Jones is worth 6.
Gosh.
Graham never thought the Broncos would beat the Bucs. Turns out it was Bo Nix's best game. Wild, any given game day. But then Kurt comes back, Paul, and he says, yes, now you're talking, Paul. This is the game. The Giants must beat them. If they can't, everything must change. You're building national TV. Cowboys a mess. Giants should win. Eddie Murphy, watching the Cowboys game yesterday, is it safe to say that the Giants maybe have better offensive weapons if used right, Paul?
I'll tell you, the Dallas running game is non-existent. I don't think in the time that I watched the game, if Shaquille Elliott played at all. I don't even remember if he was in there. And Dowell, I mean, does he scare you at all running the ball?
No.
And aside from Lamb, who else really scares you on that offense? Ferguson's a good tight end, I'll give him that. But other than that, I mean, Brandon Cooks, come on.
Nope.
How good is he still? So yeah, I mean, you throw our guy into the mix there, and then you add Wan'Dale Robinson and Slayton. Maybe we do have better offensive players, and with the way the offensive line has played the first 3 games, legitimately they have a chance to move the ball against this Cowboy defense.
Paul, let's do this. I had a question, and you had a question you wanted to bring up in the chat, but Eddie just brought. Let's do mine first because Eddie's bringing it up in the chat.
Okay.
When you bring in a kicker, can we please make sure he can kick a 46-yarder? Eddie, my question to you, the chat, and to Paul was, we have a kicker on the practice squad, rookie, Judd McIntyre, kicked locally at Rutgers College, the State College of New Jersey, and made it.
The undefeated Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
He's on the practice squad. Now, I understand wanting to sign a kicker, but if you're going to do that, why keep this kid on the practice squad? Field goal kicker. This guy's coming off the unemployment line while this kid's practicing every day kicking field goals. And thank goodness it didn't cost us, because that would have been the end of it if we lost 2 games in a row because of field goal kickers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the rookie kid should get a chance if he's on the practice squad. The Giants see something in him. And he's just not good enough to kick in regular games, but you're going to keep him on the practice squad, waste a spot on the practice squad. I don't get it. That's the only thing I would question, and I'd like to go back and see if that was asked in the press game, the press conference with Dable, because I want to know what the kicking plan is for this week. It's short week. Greg Joseph, he's a veteran. He kicked that 61-yarder against us, 2 years ago, and he's got experience. But again, when you're on the unemployment line, you need some time. So I question it. What about you, Paul?
The only thing I can say about that is about the kid on the practice squad. He was part of that international pathway program, even though he kicked at Rutgers. And I know they give them one of a slot for the practice squad for these players. So it doesn't hurt them to keep this kid on the practice squad as if he's taking a spot from another player that they can have on the practice squad. It's almost like an exemption. But that being said, maybe they feel he's just not ready to kick in a game. Now, they tried out 4 other kickers. They chose Joseph um, last week after the debacle in Washington. I don't know why this guy couldn't kick a 46-yard field goal. Our luck, he can't kick a 46-yard field goal. Washington brings in a guy the same way the week before. He winds up kicking 7 and beats us, kicking 7 field goals. But they better get their act together, because no one thinks about special teams and kickers until you really need them. And then you wind up losing games like they did against Washington, and could have blown another game, missing a relatively short field goal kick. Meanwhile, I watched the Dallas game, and the Dallas kicker kicks a 65-yard field goal, and probably that would have been good from over 70 yards. So that's the frustration of not having a guy that you can rely on kicking a relatively short field goal in these days.
Yep. Eddie's saying he's an international player, doesn't count towards the practice squad player. He wants to give the kid a chance before we sign Joseph. Ryan Woodhams, Scoop saying hello. About time we root for the same team. Please take down the Cowboys. After what I saw from Dallas, he wonders how much that line moves down before the game. With this new kickoff rule, this is from Eddie, you need athletic kickers. That's why Fat Boy Bullock is still unemployed. And Ryan saying he was just telling someone similarly, special teams is a thankless part of football. No credit when you do your job, but blasted if you mess it up. Ryan, hope all's going well in Mississippi. I hope you do good down there in law school, and thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Your question, Paul. Let's wrap up the kicker, because I want to get into the Cowboy game Thursday night before we wrap up tonight. We're about 20 minutes left in the show.
Okay. My question is more of a philosophical question. I guess it's a Giants/sports question. And it's this, especially seeing the Giants the last 10 years. And it could be any team, actually, when you hear my question. But basically, it's this. Would you rather have a consistent, regular, competitive team year after year, where they'll make the playoffs, they get to the playoffs, maybe they'll get to the first round, second round, year after year after year? I hate to use the team like the Cowboys, but I'll use a team like the Cowboys. And they just never get to that championship game or Super Bowl, or even get to the Super Bowl and win it, or even just get there? Or would you rather have that 1-year wonder, like, say, the Giants of 2007, where they put it all together, they come out of nowhere, and they get on a roll, and they win a Super Bowl, they get to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, and then, okay, they won 4 years later, but now over the next 10 years, the team has basically been garbage, and there has not been a competitiveness. And the reason I asked this is I watched yesterday morning, they were talking about some NFL games, and the Giants were not mentioned at all. And they were bringing up all these other games. And I just said to myself, we have become such a non-entity in the world of the NFL that nobody thinks of the Giants, when in the 80s and 90s, we were one of the best teams, one of those dynasty teams, so to speak. So I don't know how you feel, Kenny. I don't know how the Giant fans out there feel, but I'm going to give you my feeling. If you would have asked me 2-3 years ago, I would have said, you know what? I want those Super Bowls, and I'll trade 3 or 4 or 5, 6 bad years. But you know what? The more I see, I want every year to be competitive. I want to win 10, 11, 12 games. If it doesn't mean I'm going to win a Super Bowl, but I want to be relevant. I want to be on a Monday night. I want to be on a Sunday night. I want people to talk about my team again. I want to be known as, hey, one of the best teams in the NFL. I want to have that ability to say, yeah, I'm proud to be a Giant fan, and people are talking about my team. When you're talking and not hearing about the Giants anytime, it almost becomes like a joke, and that's the way I feel now. I don't know, Kenny, how you feel,
Yeah.
and people out there.
Yeah, Eddie's giving a shout out to the background, but Paul's got to get all the credit. He gave me this background, Eddie, the Super Bowl champion background. Thank you. Eddie's saying he feels like it's because of who's our quarterback, why we're not mentioned. And Ryan's saying that's been the Yankees for the past 15 years. No thank you. Titles are why you play. And Ryan, like Paul said, I would agree with you 2-3 years ago. I would, but because of how bad the Giants have been, and you've had the luxury of having a good Eagles team in the Super Bowl and being near the Super Bowl for the last few years. We haven't had that luxury. And 2022, I was excited when we went to the playoffs, and it's like I want that back, and just to be in the playoffs. A lot of people would say, give me that one Super Bowl, and I was that person too with Kurt and Ryan, like he's saying. But give me, like you said, Paul, give me the competitive team that gets to the playoffs and then, you know, make some noise in the playoffs. Maybe win a couple games and surprise people and get to the Super Bowl. But I want to be back in the playoffs and contending in the NFC East and going to the playoffs and being the team we were, like you said, in the 90s and early 2000s when we beat the Patriots twice. I want to be that team. I want to be the team that's right here. Super Bowl 37 champions when Paul's watching them, and maybe Paul and I can get to that Super Bowl when it happens again, when maybe Malik Nabers is making those acrobatic catches. Paul, let's get back there, but let's be competitive and take it one day at a time. We got a star in the making, maybe in Malik Nabers after 3 games. He sure looks like one. Let's hope that continues to build, and then we go on from there. Whether it's through quarterback, build our defense, et cetera, et cetera. But to answer Paul's question, I'm taking the competitive team. Surprisingly, changed my mind on this one too, like Paul did, and going the competitive route and getting to the playoffs. Good question, Paul.
Thank you.
Want to 15 minutes or so left? Want to get into Thursday's game?
Absolutely.
All right, take over, Paul. I'll let you start.
Well, like we talked a little bit about the Cowboys coming in Thursday. They haven't played well. They got destroyed 2 straight games. Well, they made it competitive against the Ravens yesterday, but the fact of the matter was they were down 28-6. The Ravens just ran all over them. The week before at home, the Saints totally dominated. That wasn't even a close game at any point, and they just totally dominated the Cowboys in every which way. They're coming in. They've got to be on a short week reeling. All right. They paid Dak Prescott $60 million. They wanted to secure him, and they may have him, but what else are they showing? I think bringing in Mike Zimmer after they lost Dan Quinn to becoming the head coach of the Commanders, I think was a big hit for them because whatever Zimmer is doing is not working right now. Their defense looks a mess. They are as unorganized. Seeing how Micah Parsons usually is as dominant, if not the dominant player in the NFL, and he was almost a non-entity yesterday in watching the game. So their defense at this point, I don't know if they're going to be able to get it together in a couple of days. Essentially, that's what it is. They have to fly up Wednesday and be ready on Thursday night for the Giants. So the Giants may be catching a tremendous break right now with the Cowboys on this short week. And you know what? You have to take advantage of every break that you get in the NFL. No one feels sorry for you. And right now, the Giants have to capitalize. They have to be able to run the ball and play defense against the Cowboys like they've never played before. Uh, I'll tell you, they'll have film to watch the giant blitzes, but if I'm Shane Bowen, that's what I'm doing. The offensive line for the Cowboys, this isn't my father's offensive line. This isn't our old Cowboy offensive line that we've watched over the years. This is a new, young Cowboy offensive line that I think if the Giant defense can do some uh, manipulation on them and make some changes and uh, uh, what I want to say, be able to um, confuse them a little bit on the offensive line, I think they'll have an opportunity to really pressure Dak. And as we've seen before, Dak with pressure tends to throw the ball up for grabs. So I think if they can do that, they have a legitimate chance to win on Thursday night.
And Eddie Murphy saying he feels like if you're making 60 million, you should have a average 330 and 4 touchdowns a game. Ryan saying he acknowledges he's been blessed as a sports fan. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. No, you didn't come off disrespectful. I was saying you've been blessed to have the Eagles as your team for the last few years. Paul and I have gone through some bad Giants teams. That's why we want to be competitive. So
Yeah.
I understand the Yankee thing. Like, picture the Yankees, Ryan. If the Yankees had 5 bad years in a row where they missed the playoffs and then one where they made the playoffs and lost, you'd probably want them back in the playoffs with a chance to get there. Carson saying hello.
Hey, Carson.
Carson.
You know, I was going to use the Yankees, not to interrupt Kenny. The Yankees have had 30 straight years of better than 500 ball, 30 straight seasons, which is phenomenal. As if I was a Yankee fan, and obviously I'm not, I'm a Mets fan, but I say this out of jealousy. I mean, what sports franchise does that? I mean, you got to tip your cap to them and say that's consistency. That's what you want from every franchise that you root for.
Ryan's, I'm going to give you this one, Paul, because I don't know any of these 4 names, but he said the Giants worked out 4 tight ends: Tegan Quitterano, Armani Rogers, Stephen Sullivan, and Joel Wilson. Any of those names stick out to us? Do you take a flyer on for the G-Men? I don't know any of those names, do you?
No, none of those names ring a
And he's
bell at
thanking
all.
me for the kind words. Mississippi's been a grind, but the relocation's been fantastic. Good to hear. Michael saying there are 2 fun Monday Night Football games tonight. Yep, Bengals in my neck of the woods here. The Commanders, Michael. They're a lot of fans watching. 5 p.m. for sure. So going that route. Good friend Keith Brugman from the Rocky Mountain Sports Network,
Hey,
Denver
Keith.
Bronco Roundup, saying, "Gentlemen, I had the time zone wrong." You guys, a good question, Paul, and then I'll get into my thoughts on this Cowboy game. First thoughts on it. He goes, "How rejuvenated do you all feel? On a scale from 1 to 10, where's your confidence with this team today?" You want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Confidence, Keith, meaning we can compete and play with the Cowboys on Thursday? 10. Confidence that we're going to get to the playoffs? And, I'm going to say 4. So I got a lot of confidence we can win Thursday for sure. I still don't have confidence we're going to get to the playoffs. 10 on confidence level that we can compete with the Cowboys and maybe pull out the win. And 4 for the season, Paul.
I'll pull out the old Jim Mora playoffs. What playoff? But yeah, I mean, listen. I think for the most part, every NFL team tries to be competitive. Sometimes you're not, and it's a bad week. the Giants hopefully will be competitive on Thursday night against the Cowboys. I'll say, just from the face of how they were embarrassed at home opening game last year, it's got to be like an 11, just to say we're not going to, that's never going to happen again. From a playoff standpoint, I, quasi playoff we talked about, but again, it's a difficult schedule. If they win 7, 8 games, to me that would be a successful season. I hate to say it,
Yeah,
but it'll be
yeah.
a stepping. It's a stepping
Let,
stone.
let's beat the Cowboys on Thursday, Keith. My confidence starts getting a little higher, but we got, like I called, I told Paul, I told Keith and Trevor and the guys, and guys, go check out, for those who don't know, the Denver Bronco Roundup. Check them out on Tuesday nights, 9:30 Eastern time. Check them out on Friday nights, 9:30 Eastern time, and post-game shows on Sunday. Best Bronco talk around, and good stuff there. I've been telling the guys, let's see what happens week in, week out. But we got our gauntlet coming up. Like they had their gauntlet and running through their gauntlet for one more week with the Jets. We got our gauntlet coming up. Steelers and Seahawks and Cowboys and Eagles. We got our gauntlet coming up. So we're going to know a bit about our team. And there's my good friend from high school, Mr. Joe Benjamin, saying, "What's up, boys?" For those who
Hey,
don't
Joe.
know, those in the New Jersey area, one of the best New Jersey bands, cover bands around. They played at Kurt and Jen's wedding, Paul, the Benjamins.
No kidding.
Check them out, their website. Awesome band. They play a variety of different music, a lot of fun. Been around for many years, and I can't say enough great things about my friend Joe and Ben and the Benjamins themselves. So go check them out. Paul, maybe when I'm up in New Jersey and they're playing near the Toms River area, we'll go see them one
Absolutely.
Friday or Saturday.
All for it.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, Keith, congratulations on your guys' win yesterday.
Absolutely. And I think, Joe, you're a Bears fan, man. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams? Joe's a Bears fan, so I want to throw that out there. All right, so my quick thoughts on the Cowboys-Giants game. Hey, Cowboys, like you said, Paul, are struggling. I want to see our defense get to Dak Prescott. And what I saw yesterday, I felt like I was watching Evan Neal in a Cowboys uniform. Their rookie right tackle, Tyler Guyton, is struggling big time on the inside move. So whoever's lined up over him, whether it's Burns or Thibodeau, should be watching that. And even Olajolari, who's having a great, we said it, like if this guy could stay healthy, let's keep our fingers crossed, because it's like walking on eggshells with him every week. Is this guy going to stay healthy? You might see some blitz packages coming in with this on the short week, and this kid keeps struggling on the right tackle for the Cowboys. Let's get to Dak Prescott and maybe cause a couple little turnovers there, like in not just get the sacks, but let's get a couple turnovers, because that was the only thing that was lacking on Sunday. We had the sacks, but we didn't get the turnovers. So let's get some turnovers and get this defense trending up even more after Thursday. On the offensive side of the ball, it's simple, Paul. I know their star corner, Diggs, is going to be lined up against our star wide receiver. But you know what? Pound the ball, run Singletary 25 times, Tracy spell him, maybe Eric Gray a little bit, until they could stop the run. They load the box, and then you take your shot with our star receiver, and maybe Wan'Dale Robinson gets a couple plays, and maybe we do see Jalen Hyatt. I mean, I know Slayton went down with an injury. Any update on that injury, Paul?
No, I know it was a thumb injury, but I haven't heard anything today.
Gotcha. So Jalen Hyatt may get a couple plays here, and maybe Theo Johnson, maybe the Giants get that timing, but run the ball first, run it down their throats. The defense is struggling for the Cowboys. Micah Parsons is on top of that struggling list, in my opinion. And this offensive line, 3 games, has been a complete 360. let's keep it going in the right direction, offensive line, and let's come out with a victory. So and special teams is going to be big because I'm curious to see about our kicking game. Greg Joseph, maybe a week to practice, another week. You go with the veteran, and hopefully continues. So we'll see. I'm not going to get rid of somebody because of 146-yard field goal. The guy's got experience kicking in the league. So let's see the week of practice he had. Let's get our special teams on the right track because we're going to need our special teams in this game. It might come down to a late field goal as the difference in this game.
One thing I noticed watching the game yesterday, the Ravens use a lot of RPOs. I'm not comparing Daniel Jones' running ability to Lamar's running ability, but if the Cowboys can be suckered into going for the running back as opposed to Daniel and giving him an option to get out and run the ball, that could be a big factor in the game also on Thursday.
Yep. And Keith saying, "Hey, it's all about the Benjamins." And Keith, you ever get out here to New Jersey, you got to check out my good friends, the Benjamins. Like I said, played Kurt's wedding. You can check them out on YouTube. The Benjamins might be the Benjamins band. Check them out on YouTube. But they got some videos on there. You'll see some old ones and some new ones. He wants to know what the best matchup to watch will be. I'm going to say easily for me, both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be CeeDee Lamb on Tay Banks, and it's going to be Nabers on Trayvon Diggs. You got anything different, Paul?
I'm just going to say whoever Micah Parsons lines up against, that person has got to stop him. I mean, let's face it. He's the key to their defense, and they've got to be able to somehow control him. So whether he's lining up outside, maybe against either Andrew Thomas or Jermaine Illuminor, or inside, they've been using him a lot in the middle, perhaps going against JMS. So whoever has his responsibility, wherever he lines up, they've got to be able to control him.
Absolutely. Paul, we got a couple minutes left. We're at 58. Want to do a prediction or do an MVP? How do you want to handle next?
Yeah, let's go out on a limb and do a prediction. You can go first.
All right, I'll do a prediction, and I'm going to give you my offensive MVP and defensive MVP. Prediction. I don't care what anybody says. I had the Giants beating the Browns. Everybody thought I was crazy. Yeah, this is a Giants show, and I'm going to go Giants, not because I think, not because this is a Giants show. I just think that the Cowboys are in a lot of trouble. And if they would have won against the Ravens, I'd be here saying Cowboys on Thursday. They got all the momentum now. But because they came all the way back and fell just a little short, now they got a short week to travel. Give me the Giants, 27-24. Offensive MVP, once again, Malik Nabers, 2 more touchdowns. Defensive MVP, he shows up. Eddie said it earlier, Kayvon Thibodeau, sack and a fumble in this game. 2 sacks and a fumble. That's my MVPs of the game. 27-24. Let's go, Giants. Let's go, G-Men. Keith's going good. Cowboys 17, Giants 19, Cowboys 17. Thank you, Keith. Like that prediction.
Nice. Thanks, Keith. I'll go because of the short week. The Giants hopefully keep that momentum going. Hopefully the stadium is rocking with Giant fans and not Cowboy fans coming into the stadium. But I'll keep it low score. I'll do Giants 20, Cowboys 17, and my MVP will be on defense. I'm going to go the other side. I'm going to go Brian Burns. I think he's going to have a breakout game against that offensive line, causing havoc from his side of the field. And from the offense, I think Singletary is going to have a breakout game, over 100 yards rushing, a touchdown. I'm going to predict this: a touchdown running and a touchdown receiving. and the Giants wind up winning 2017.
Nice. And Joey's saying Cowboys do not have a true number 2 wide receiver. They don't. They lost. You know who was a killer, Jody, for us, and Paul's going to attest to this. Michael Gallup used to always
Yeah.
burn us. I am so happy.
Yes.
Michael Gallup. Let's just line up the guys that burn us
Yeah.
every time. Right? Boston Scott,
Right.
Michael Gallup, Boston Scott for the Eagles, Michael Gallup for the Cowboys. Thank goodness we ain't going to see him. So,
So
let's go.
true.
Let's go Giants. Let's see what happens. We very easily. Hey, I'm not going to go back, but if we had a kicker against Washington, we could be. I'm not going to say we would be. We could be 2-1 right now. So if we didn't lose our kicker, we could be 2-1 heading into this Giants game. So you know what? We're a game back of where we should be. Let's get this game that we're not supposed to win beginning of the season. Oh, you ain't beating the Cowboys. Let's get this game that we're not supposed to win and get back to 2-2 and be 500 through the first quarter. And our good Hall of Fame coach and legendary coach Tom Coughlin said it best. 4 quarters of the football season. So let's get to 500 and let's get trend up going into the second quarter of the season.
Yep.
Keep saying Wan'Dale Robinson, his MVP, over 100 yards and the sole touchdown on offense. So he's having a big game from our kicker, whoever it is.
Okay.
And, hey, our kickers do. We've had some bad performances so far on the kicking side. So anybody who kicks some field goals is going to be a hero for the Giants. So let's see what happens. 4 quarters plus 1 game. Let's call it 4 quarters plus overtime, Jody. I like that. With the extra game, that's a good point. 4 quarters plus overtime. That's how we'll call the new football. But final thoughts, Paul, going into Thursday night.
Yeah. Overall, great show again, as usual, Kenny. Always a pleasure reviewing Giant wins, especially the next day. So that takes a little bit of pressure off of Giant fans, and I'm sure Giant organization. Thursday should be fun. We certainly hate the Cowboys, as most fans other than Cowboy fans do. So let's hope that they come out at home after a big win and show the Giant fans, hey, we can turn this around, and this can be a season to remember, especially since it's a special 100th anniversary season.
Absolutely. And want to thank everybody in the audience. A lot of names to mention, so I don't want to miss anybody. So I do recognize you all. Paul recognizes you all. We truly thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Michael's saying victory Monday for the Giants fans. We wish, hey, Broncos, your quarterback looked good on Bronco fans. Your quarterback looked really good on Sunday. Okay, you're coming to the Meadowlands now too. So you know what? We're all going to be in the Meadowlands this weekend. We're just playing on Thursday, and you guys are on Sunday. But hey, crazy things happen in the NFL. Go compete with Aaron Rodgers and the mighty Jets, and go get a surprise victory yourselves, guys. So let's go. Let's both get to 2-2, Broncos, Giants. But back to the Giants. Let's do it. Looking forward. Short week. Enjoy the games tonight. Thursday, I'll be ready. Paul will be ready. Hopefully, we come back next Monday night with a victory on and going 2-2 heading into Cincinnati. So go Giants, and we'll see everyone next Monday.